Bob, that's a wonderful view behind you there.
Oh, that's a picture I took, I don't know, I think late in the fall or early this winter from
Okay.
our yard looking across the river, and it just looked like a good and not too obtrusive background.
It's beautiful. There's a lovely background there.
Jessica? Are there people there in Kendall Hall?
Yes, Diane, and I'm actually trying to project it on the screen right now because the last time we did this, we didn't do it live in Kendall Hall, so I got turned around a little bit on what I was supposed to do. I thought you were speaking from here. So last time we just shared the recording. So anyway, we're just gonna need a few more minutes to get this on the screen. Be right with you.
We still got time. That's great. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's fun to watch more little screens popping up, seeing where you're sitting in your apartments or cottages and all of that. I keep looking at, I'm on my porch and I have this dial or this big wooden thing from Costa Rica that we picked up one time. And I'm thinking maybe I need to change where I sit sometime, but this is always convenient.
Looks good, Diane. Don't worry about it.
I know, it's just I get tired of it. We're going to have Bob Glidden on our attending our Residents Association meeting this morning in a little bit. So glad that you're here, Bob. Thanks.
You shouldn't have said that because as soon as you did, about 6 squares went blank.
Oh, no.
Hi, all. Just want to let you know that we have about 5 or 6 folks here in Kendall Hall. You're projected on the screen and we have sound. So we should be good to start in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Jessica, you're golden.
Oh, that helped. Becky helped me, so.
Well, I'm so grateful for how our staff helps make things like this happen because it's way beyond what I could do.
Yeah. All right, I'll stay here and I'll do my report from here too, so. But yeah, why don't you wait just a couple more minutes, Diane, and then you can take over.
Because we want to get more people up on here.
Diane,
you got
you're
the,
gonna need to turn
agenda?
your volume up. Diane, you need to turn your volume up a little bit.
I will do that. I'm up to my max and I'll pull it closer. Is that better now?
We
Elizabeth?
hear you pretty good in here.
All right. I can use my first grade teacher voice too. Oh, I can see that the birches are on. Welcome. You want to put your picture on for a minute? Not yet. Okay.
Okay, I'll just remind everyone to please stay muted unless you're about to speak. Kevin and Becky are also co-hosts, so they can help me do some monitoring of muting if we need to.
Are you there?
But we have we have our folks here in Kendall Hall.
And is Felicia, either does she have the link or is she in there?
She's not in here. We'll see if she's on Zoom.
I'm on. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm on.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, great. Thanks. Takes me a while to find my little mute.
Yeah, I know.
We have 72 households on or staff and about 5 residents in here.
Great. You start it when it's time, Jessica.
Without further ado, Diane Herrick.
Okay. Welcome to our February Residents Association meeting. And as always, we will open with a moment of quiet, please. Thank you. Being president of the Residents Council has been interesting. None of us thought that this coronavirus would come and so on. But one of the parts that really has been enjoyable for me is to sit in on the Kendall board meetings for Kendall at Lexington. And I am so impressed with our board and getting a better glimpse of how the board and administration and the residents operate together, intertwined in this large organization. I've been impressed with what the board does, and I've been very impressed with the board members and our leadership with Bob Glidden, is really a gift for all of us. Bob brings so much experience from his past, and most recently, he was president at Ohio University, where he knew Anita and Ed. But seeing his leadership during the board meetings and as we go forward is most impressive. So I invited Bob to come today to talk about the board and the interrelationship. And next month, we will have Casey Brower, who is head of the board development committee, because having a terrific board with a lot of abilities doesn't just happen. It really takes a lot of forethought and thinking about different people in different roles. And there's a lot of a matrix for that. So Bob, it's your turn. We'd like to hear more about the board and our interrelationships.
Okay, Diane, thank you for that gracious introduction. And I'll respond by saying that we appreciate Diane's leadership of the Resident Association. She's been responsible in every respect, giving us good reports at every board meeting, both written and oral. And so we appreciate her and her work and all of your involvement. It's nice to see all of you. I can't see quite all of you on my screen. I guess maybe a third of you I can actually see. But it's nice to see people. I've always enjoyed my trips to Kendall and greeting folks there. But of course, now you won't let me in. I'm an outsider, you know. So I have missed seeing you for the last, it seems forever, but it's really been almost a year now, hasn't it? I'll say a little bit about the board, its relationship with the administration and staff, with the residents, and with the Kendall Corporation. The board is 17 members by our bylaws, and by Kendall bylaws, no more than 20% of our board may be residents. So out of a 17-member board, we have 3 resident members, Trix Rumford, Karen Jackson, and Bruce Summers. All excellent members whose contributions we appreciate very much. The board's responsibility, I should point out, has to do with policy, not operations. And one of the I guess, rules of leading a board or being part of a board is that you don't try to get into the administration and run things. You appoint administrators and staff to do that and try to watch and give some oversight to it. But for a board to get involved in operations directly is just not right. And I think one of the responsibilities of the board chair is to monitor other board members and be certain that that's not happening. We've never had that problem at Kendall at Lexington, but I've certainly observed it in other boards from time to time. So our responsibility is policy and not operations. And of course, part of that has to do with fiscal responsibility, good stewardship of the funds. For the organization that we administer, that is the way it's structured and the way it works together. And then also always planning for the future. Because one of a board's responsibilities is how you grow and get better and so forth for the future. And if we have time in a minute, I may say a word about strategic planning because that's all part of that. Well, how does the board work? The board works through a committee structure. We have several standing committees, the executive committee, which comprises the officers, the chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer, and also the CEO and the CFO. So Jan and Felicia are officially part of the executive committee. Then we also have a finance committee, which is one of the committees that meets every month because we think it's important to keep tabs on that. And within the finance committee, we have an investment subcommittee, which Bruce Summers chairs, and they've been doing some excellent work looking toward our future. The board development committee, which you're going to hear from Casey, I think, next month. Is that right, Diane?
Yes.
And through Casey's leadership, that committee has just done extraordinarily good work, which is why we have such a good board with such a wide range of expertise and experience and just good people to work with, because that committee really screens and vets people very, very thoroughly. We also have an audit and oversight committee, which is a great way to get acquainted with the organization because they don't just audit the finances, they audit the whole operation. And it's a very important function. And that board is chaired by Chris Russell, who's now a circuit judge in Lexington. Chris does a great job of leading that. The Strategic Planning Committee, which is now chaired by Tasha Walsh, has been doing a lot of work. It was chaired last year by the vice chair, Linda Wilder, and Tasha has taken that over this year as we're getting into the implementation phase of some of the planning that you all participated in last year. And then finally, we have the Philanthropy Committee. Kendall Lexington is a product of philanthropy. We wouldn't be here had it not been for the philanthropy of the Lexington community back in the beginning when we started. Diane was actually a part of that, so she could tell you more about the details of that than I. And I see Elizabeth Harrelson there, and I think Elizabeth was one of the early staff members and participants in all of that as well. So that philanthropy committee is very important. And of course, we've just completed a very successful capital campaign. So the way it works is that most of the discussion, research, and recommendations that the board eventually acts on come from those committees. They go through the executive committee, which then screens them and determines whether or not to send a recommendation on to the board for approval. And so by the time items get to the board, they've been pretty thoroughly discussed and vetted at several different levels. So from committees to the executive committee to the board, and we always operate, of course, according to the Kendall Quaker model, which means by consensus, which takes, if you're the chair, it takes a little learning because the chair's responsibility is to determine when you have a consensus. And a board member's responsibility is to speak up when anything does not seem right or when there are questions. And so if that all works right, the whole consensus model works very well. Having been a part of boards, worked for boards, chaired boards and so forth in the past, I can say that the consensus model is really actually the way most boards really work. They end up with taking a vote, but most smart boards do not take a vote until they are pretty sure they have a consensus. So in a sense, ours is a bit of a shortcut of that, but it's partly, I think, what makes this board such a pleasure to work with because they understand their role and they take it very seriously. Diane, I'll not take too long because I know you, when I see you slashing across your throat.
Sorry, I had to change the window blinds.
I see, okay. I would just say a word about strategic planning. That was a vigorous exercise last year. A number of residents took part in that and board members, in fact, we sort of wore out the board with so many meetings and so forth. But I think we did a really good job and did a good thorough strategic planning. The implementation of it has been a little bit slow because of the pandemic. We're not as far along in implementation as I would like to be, but there are reasons for that. And we are beginning to make some progress. Groups are meeting, working groups are talking through things and so forth. But that's the way the board works, and the strategic planning part of it is critically important as we face the future. So with that, Diane, I would take questions if anyone has any, and we'll not take too long because I know you want to move on with your meeting.
I would actually like you to talk a little bit more about the board and resident interactions, because I think that we talk about resident-driven community, and there are many ways in which that takes place with the board committees and so on. Would you talk a little bit to that, please?
Sure. First of all, we got tremendous help from residents in that whole strategic planning process. And we have in the past tried to do one open meeting a year in Kendall Hall in which we invite residents to attend. Now, we weren't able to do that last year and probably won't be able to do it again this year. I don't know for sure, but that's a way for board members to attend and actually see the board in action. And I've enjoyed those meetings. But we appreciate hearing from, I mean, the board's actions are to make sure that Kendall is a going, successful operation. And it's not going and successful unless residents are happy and pleased with things. So we like hearing from residents, and the best way is channeling that through Diane and the Resident Association Council. And we do get a lot of help from that. But we want to hear from residents. We need to know what things are working, what are not. We got a lot of that in the strategic planning process because residents identified things that they thought needed to be improved or changed. And I think we addressed, I wouldn't even pretend that we addressed every single one of them, but we certainly did touch on most. So we can't respond immediately to every resident wish, that's for sure, but we at least can take into consideration what change may be needed to make things more satisfactory for you.
And do any of you have questions? We can take a few minutes in the agenda for that. Susie?
Bob, there was a resource protection group as part of that. Am I right?
Yes, but I think that wasn't quite, that was,
Sustainability?
no, Bill Shelsty chaired the group. It
Yeah.
wasn't called, it was called, if Bill's on he could tell us what the name of that strategic planning committee was.
Resource preservation.
Resource preservation, thank you, yes, right.
Is that still in effect?
Well, yes, and it's bridged off in several directions. One of the things we talked a lot about that we're very interested in is solar power for several reasons. But we found that we're probably not really quite ready for it. So we've sort of made it a standing commitment that we will review annually where the technology of all that and the cost stands.
Okay.
And one of the solutions might be when we have to replace roofs, we would put solar panels on some roofs, but there's no point doing, there's Bill, I see him now. But there's no point trying to do that until we need to replace the roofs. We just double the cost if we did that. But by the time we're ready or need to replace roofs, there may be a better technology. And I think the cost of that is coming down, as we speak. But that's certainly one of the things that we looked at. We looked at recycling. We looked at, Bill, what was the, I can't think of the word, showing my age.
Compost.
Composting and how we do composting with food scraps and all that sort of thing. So I think there's some limited things we might be able to do about that. But one of the challenges right now is the extra burden on the kitchen staff for how that's all processed. So that's we're still looking at that. And I think that we will be doing composting in the future, I'm pretty sure, but we haven't quite figured out yet how to do it. Anything else, Susie?
Bill, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, it was decided that we would not have an implementation group this year, that we would start in next year, in large part because of the pandemic, but also because of the calendar that we'd worked out during the process.
I sat in with Bill's committee on most of their meetings, and he did a great job of leading that group. And I think there were a lot of good ideas discussed. And so some it's a matter of what we're ready for. And so I think it's probably just as well to kind of let that lie low for a bit. And hopefully this pandemic will pass us by. We can get on with it during the next fiscal year.
The other factor is that a strategic plan was drawn up for 5 years. And we might see things happen incrementally over that time, given the factors and the cost in different sections of that. And Bob, I'd like to say that some of the working groups for the strategic plan are working mighty hard.
I know that. Yes, I know
Implementation.
that. And we're expecting, hoping to get a report from them at our March board meeting as to see kind of where we stand. But there's no question but what the pandemic has slowed us down in
Oh,
terms
my goodness.
of implementation.
Yeah.
One more question, and then we need to move on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, indeed, Susie.
No more questions. Oh,
Okay, thank you for your courtesy.
I thank you very much, Bob. And as always, thanks for your leadership. You've been outstanding. And from the residential point of view, I urge you to get to know some of our board members. I've had some in and shared dinners and so on, and they come on the campus and we urge them to come for programs and so on, because the more they know about the residential life here, the better the board will be. And many are here on the campus often, and we're pleased. In coming months, we'll keep on meeting some people we don't see as much. They may be a board member, and they may be a staff member that we don't see as much, so that we get to know more about them. But now we're going to move on to the operations part of this, and we're turning to Jan, who will give the CEO report. Jan?
Diane, good morning, everyone. It's good to see everyone, even though it's still on Zoom. We will get to be in person someday, I guarantee you. We do continue phase 3 update. We do continue to move forward with the construction in Borden and Webster. We are finalizing a few punch list items for a couple of the apartments, Webster apartments, and also working on completion of our couples apartment that we have created as part of this whole renovation. We are hopeful that we will be completed with those particular apartments by early March. Hallway carpeting, ceilings, lighting are focused over the next couple of weeks in Webster. In Borden, the crew is working to finalize completions on some punch lists over there, as well as focusing on some sprinkler installations, which are mandatory in our Borden Center. The clinic, the ramp area leading to the clinic, and the staff lounge are completed. And weather permitting, we have an inspection scheduled for tomorrow, of course. So we will see how that goes for us. We are diligently working with Nielsen and Spectrum both to really come to conclusion on a final to-do list and a schedule for completion for the Sunrise Ridge Cottage punch lists, as well as outstanding landscaping for both Sunrise Ridge and the swap property. Our IT assessment, as you know, due to the COVID spike in December, we had to delay Dave Baker, who was our IT consultant coming to us from Pennsylvania, to really give us a good idea of our current reality and where we want to go. And he was able to be here last week on Tuesday and Wednesday, and it was so great to see him. Dave and I go way back. We worked together at Diakon Lutheran Social Ministries in Pennsylvania, so I have a lot of faith in Dave. We had some great, really thoughtful meetings while he was here, and he really received a lot of information on where we are and really where we'd like to go. So I was pleased. I know Dave was pleased. He felt like he got a lot of good information, and he promised me that we are not alone and that all the things that we have going on right now are definitely things that we can fix and we can move forward. So that made me feel good. We're looking forward to his report that should be coming to us soon, and I will definitely share that with all of you. The Borden team is pleased to announce that we have found a new director of nursing. Debbie Curry-Lee resigned a month ago. Her last day is today. She is moving on to another organization a little closer to home and doing a little different. She's going to be in compliance and training for another organization. So we wish her well. But Brandy Hostetter has worked at Calyx for over 10 years, and her last 5 years have been in nursing management over in our Borden Center. Brandy graduated from Jefferson College of Health Sciences with a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. She started volunteering at the young age of 16 with the Buena Vista Rescue Squad. And Brandy has experience in emergency medicine and really is very excited about moving her career forward in nursing management. So we are so excited to have promoted Brandy from within the organization. She was currently our assistant director of nursing. So Debbie and the team have been training her well, and she's excited to get started. So we will have Brandy at a future meeting so you can put a name with a face. And I'm sure if you see her, you'll recognize her. So we're happy about that. COVID-19 update. Our COVID testing continues with the staff twice a week. We did have a stretch with no positives, but we were notified late yesterday that we did have 2 Borden staff test positive. I am in the process of finding out more information, more details, and I will follow up with all of you with a memo that will go out to all independent living residents once I find out more information. We do ask that you continue to be vigilant in wearing masks, using good infection control protocols, and remain with the physical distancing. You know, we are fortunate enough, many of us, to be vaccinated, but that does not give us an excuse to start to be a little less vigilant in just minding our P's and Q's. So our second vaccinations went well. We did move the needle in a positive manner for our staff. We went from 50% to 60%, and we will continue to work with staff, help them understand why we want folks vaccinated. But we have decided, along with other Kendalls, that will be their choice. The vaccine is just too new, and there has not been a lot of feedback on certain people, whether they would be pregnant or whatnot. So that will continue to not be mandatory at this point in time for staff. The third clinic is actually set for Tuesday, February 23rd. Unfortunately, the pharmacy rollout with CVS and Walgreens is coming to an end in Virginia. They have a lot of the nursing care centers vaccinated. So this time around, they will not be doing first vaccinations because we will not have a 4th vaccine clinic. That will start to be a little bit of a challenge for us until vaccines become more prevalent. It will be more difficult for us to get new residents vaccinated as well as new staff members. So we will continue to work with our Department of Health here in Virginia to see where we fall. And you know, we would be very willing to give our own vaccinations to new staff and to new residents, but we are still working with that in the state of Virginia. So that concludes my report, Diane. And you're on mute.
One of the most common phrases, you're on mute, unmute yourself. Jessica, marketing report.
Good morning, everyone. I have Kevin walking in here as well. We're going to be live here from Kendall Hall. So can you all see me? I don't know, because it's dark in here to see the projector. But, you know, I'm happy to report that we have another new resident moving in on Tuesday, Lee Henkel, into 1001. And with that, our community will be at 97.3% occupancy. So our occupancy numbers are great. Yep, thumbs up. An awesome team. I'll have Kevin tell you a little bit more about how hard, especially him and Katie, are working. And we do have 4 open residences at this time. 1 is reserved for May. That's an apartment. And we still have 2 duplex cottages on Sunrise Ridge, and then a large cluster cottage right next to the fitness center in a great location. We really believe that things are starting to pick up, but we need to get some folks here on campus to see these cottages and to interact with us. So we'll keep you updated on how we progress in that way, but you know, still great connections with folks, email, phone. But as you know, when you made your decision to come here, coming here, seeing the campus, meeting with residents is so important. So we're we're hoping we can start that up again soon. Kevin, why don't you come up and just give a little bit more information?
Good morning, everyone. Something exciting that happened in the last 30 days is we got in 50 new leads. That is 50% more than normal in any 30-day period. So it seems like interest in communities like ours is on the increase after this horrible past year of everybody hunkering down and really not wanting to travel anywhere. We're starting to get more interest in folks learning more about us, which begins with us answering their questions on the phone and mailing them an information packet. And I think we had a near record number of those in this past month as well. We mailed out 30 information packets, the folder full of brochures and floor plans and price sheets and all of that stuff that goes to new prospects. During this time of no visitors and no tours, we've been keeping ourselves very busy contacting prospects by telephone and by email. And I just ran a report before this meeting and discovered that in the last 30 days, between the three of us, Katie and Jessica and myself, over 1,100 activities took place in the last 30 days, including 146 phone calls, 386 individual emails, let's see, a mass email to, we've got over 100 folks who visit our website often enough that they're invited to become subscribers. And 136 emails went to subscribers with the latest updates and stories from our website. We also had a mass mailing via snail mail, which, by the way, the snail is moving slower than ever these days. But that went to 158 wait list members this past month. And we did a resident speaker panel Zoom meeting for prospects and waitlist members as well, just a couple of weeks ago on February 5th. So we have been keeping ourselves very, very busy doing the things that we can do, quarantined to our desks. But as Jessica said, we're very much looking forward to welcoming visitors back to our campus as soon as it is determined that we can, and giving tours again and letting our prospects and our waitlist members actually meet residents, because as always, you folks are really the best salespeople we have for Kendall Electric. That's all I have. Thank you.
We have an awesome marketing team, and we enjoy having the people come and visit too. I've met so many of the residents who are here now when you did try it. So we look forward to that day.
And I think you mentioned earlier that Christine, Birch, and maybe Michael are on the call here, but I don't think we see their video. But there are new residents who moved into 88 Sycamore Lane. So hopefully we can start gathering more and you can get to meet them as well. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Diane,
Yes.
I just want to take a quick moment to congratulate Kevin. He is celebrating his 1-year anniversary this year, and we are so blessed to have him as part of our marketing team here. So
Indeed
if
we are.
you see Kevin, tell him congratulations. He's still here and he made it a year.
I noticed as he was talking, he seemed a little bit hoarse, and it's from all that time on the phone, I think, that he's been talking to people. No, you really will like it if you can just come here. One of the things that's come up in this last month is, well, first of all, you received the Fellowship Fund letter, which the Resident Council coordinates that, and in conjunction with the Philanthropy Committee of the board. And a couple questions have come up about the Philanthropy Committee. And I think it's always helpful to understand different times when residents are asked for money. So Felicia sits on the Philanthropy Committee, or always attends. And Felicia really helps understand all of these things. And she's been here so long, but she knows what each one of the funds are and what the history is. So I have invited Felicia to give an update on the Fellowship Fund. Felicia?
Thank you, Diane. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see everyone. I've got a little bit of history. I'm going to give us an amount and hopefully can answer some of your questions. The Fellowship Fund precedes me. I looked back and was able to find the first contribution to the fellowship fund in 1997 of $100,000. So even before residents moved here, the fellowship fund was established. The purpose, as most of you have heard, is to assist residents if, for no fault of their own, that they've lived at Kendall and they've outlived their resources. So monthly fee assistance is a portion of what the fellowship fund is intended for. But I don't know how many folks know, also part of the fellowship fund policy, and since inception, it was also meant to assist if it was decided for someone that needed assistance to move into Kendall with their entrance fee. If someone had sufficient monthly income, but was in a service industry, maybe as a teacher or a minister or something like that, but wasn't able to accumulate the entrance fee money. So the fellowship fund has two portions. The fellowship fund has had 5 different either families or individuals that have received grants. One of those persons was before my time, was for that entrance fee. So of a entrance fee assistance just once. 4 other, like I said, singles or couples, and we've had both, that have received assistance on their monthly fees. The length of service, the shortest amount was for 5 months. And the longest, which we have one individual that's on the fellowship fund currently, and that's been 6.5 years. If there's a request for the fellowship fund, how that works, I've had folks come to me. They can also go to Jan. We're the ones that would have that initial contact if there's a resident that ever has a concern. And just to tell folks that if you've got a concern, don't wait until you have no money in the bank. I'd like to know if you're running low on resources and you think this might be something that you would be you want to discuss, to come see me before that. There is an application process that we have folks fill out applications to report their income and their assets. And then what I would do is then compare to what that looks like when the person requests a grant and what it was when they first came in. Because there again, it is for a resident that has, they've either lived their assets or something in that concern. They haven't, gone to Las Vegas and blown it on the, on a gambling table. So the process, it's very confidential. Jan and I would discuss it. We would bring the request to the executive committee of the board of directors, excluding any residents. When we put the request forward, we do not mention names. We do not mention where the person lives, what level, in the level of care, if it's male or female, length of time that they've been at Kendall. It's strictly confidential. A decision is made, and then a grant, if a grant is awarded, then we would notify the resident. And then the only other person that would know besides Jan and I would be Joyce Clark, who does the billing, and she would need to know to put that on somebody's statement. As to what the fellowship funds and what's in the fellowship funds, there's really a couple components of the fellowship fund. There is, we've got an endowment that Bob Huntley had started, I think in about 2010. And that has a corpus that cannot be spent. That amount stays there and it is invested and receives interest. And the corpus of the Huntley Fellowship Fund is almost $256,000. Another portion of the fellowship fund is all the contributions that each of residents and families of residents and staff of people that contributed. And that's the bulk of those donor restricted, where that corpus, where we can spend those funds. And at the end of December, that amount was $1,237,000. Another portion of the fellowship fund is the board designated. So the board of directors, we have received through the years a couple contributions from residents' estates or other areas that the board said, let's take this and put that also towards the fellowship fund. Now, anything that's board designated can be undesignated. The board can decide, nope, we need to use it for something else. But at December 31st, the board designated is $247,000. And then the last piece is we have, and this was made years and years ago, I want to say early on, a charitable remainder unit trust for a couple that's a residence that this is held at Kendall charitable funds. We don't receive the proceeds until both these residents would pass away. That charitable remainder trust was about $28,000. So if you add up those four pieces, the fellowship fund at the end of December was $1.9 million. So that can fluctuate, not only increase for contributions, but there are investment earnings that are added to that. And that's been quite a bit over all the years of the fellowship fund. There's been lots of earnings because it's invested in mutual funds. I don't know if anybody has any questions. That was just my little bit of background of what it is and the circumstances. Oh, there's one more thing on a note here, is we did have someone that received fellowship fund grant, and after their passing, there was money left in their estate from a life insurance policy, and the family did forward that. So the fellowship fund was paid back for all the grant money that was given, and that's in our resident care agreement that says if there is an estate after a resident passes away, that they would repay those Kendall funds, and just goes back into the fellowship fund. I know that doesn't happen very often. In fact, when it did, I called my colleagues at some of the other Kendalls to see, how did you guys record this in the books? And it's happened a few times, but typically if someone is receiving a grant, there are no funds. But that was nice. That family was happy to give it back. They were very appreciative of how we helped their loved ones. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, kind of a little background there.
Felicia, I think you gave a wonderful description, encapsulating a lot of information in a short time. There are many different funds, and the fellowship fund really is important. In fact, we had to have that when we set up the 501c3 corporation for establishing Kendall. That's just a key component. So we have that. We hope that you will make contributions to it so it can keep growing.
I did see one question from Susie Lynch.
Susie.
This may not be available to us, but who manages the investments?
We have a Vanguard. It was the investment subcommittee, but we are going to have that managed by Vanguard institutional investors. Are going to be assisting us with that.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Felicia. And I really appreciate our staff, administration. They all do a good job. And I think it's beneficial for us all to learn a little bit more about what they're doing all the time and managing all of the affairs here. I wanted to give some updates from what is going on, other things that are going on here. There is a lot going on with the strategic planning. In particular, I have been involved with the community engagement group. And out of that, actually, directly or indirectly, 2 new committees are beginning. We now have a volunteer engagement committee. They're just getting born. There isn't a whole lot we can do during the pandemic. The 2 co-conveners are Bob Kramer and Doreen Fulson Logan. And we're all hopeful that we can actually have on site a volunteer fair in the fall. But they're getting going, and we'll keep you posted as they have gotten more, not inertia, but just motion going forward. The other side committee that has come to be is the Katie Webb Committee. This began last year in the coronavirus, where John South jumped in and began implementing the Katie Webb. And I think it's been a real gift for us during the year so that we've had better communication. As you know, the notes or minutes from the different committees are now posted. We have a much better way to know what the different committees are doing now on the campus. And Linda Kramer is the one that's posting those. But we're grateful for these people who are willing to be and head up and participate in the committees, the new ones and the ongoing committees. The Katie web and the engagement, community engagement, and the inside group all wanted to have a kiosk so that residents can use the Katie web up in the lobby. This would be a modified version of what is available on our home screens. And we would have people help those that aren't necessarily on a home screen come up and do such things as maybe make a reservation for being in the restaurant when we can do it, or sign up to go on a bus trip online by hitting something. These are visions for in the future. To implement getting the kiosk up in the front part of our lobby, we have put in a request to the board's strategic planning implementation fund, and that will all take time and process, but it is in the works. Another item that we talked about when David Baker was here was to see about getting our in-house TV channel re-upped so that people would again be able to see some information, like maybe the daily schedule, and perhaps some programs in-house. That will take time to see how that might happen. I have heard from other Kendalls that they're showing some of their programs that they have on the televisions in people's residence. So I think it offers us an opportunity, and because we can use the information that's already up on Katie in the scroll, it will be easier to maintain as well. So a lot of things, events, activities are going on. I also want to say thank you to all of the committees that are carrying on. You've done a great job, despite the fact that we don't have our usual in-face committee meetings very often for the larger committees. But carrying on and doing the work of the committees, that's really important for us adapting and keeping going. Tomorrow, the Stepping Out Committee meets. We've all had 2 vaccinations at this point. And what does that mean? And I was reading an op-ed piece just this morning in the Washington Post about, well, tell us, what does that mean now that we've been vaccinated? What's going to happen? We still have to wear the mask. Washing our hands is important. But what about these activities that we have been wanting so badly to have back? So some beginning items have been circulated. 4 of us residents who are on the Stepping Out Committee, myself, Ed Baum, Doreen, and Paul Cormier, are on that, and we're going to meet to discuss some of these things. And some of the people who are on the core leadership team also have a list. But we're going to be talking about dining, about the number in any gathering. We're going to be talking about the fitness center and some of the guidelines that we have at the fitness center, and how we still can maintain some distance there, and but still the safety. We're going to be talking some about how long do we have the check-in point up on Kendall Drive when people come in. We're going to be talking about visitors, family coming and visiting here on the campus. We're going to be talking about some of these try-it people who want to come here and to see what it's like coming on the campus. I don't know what the decisions will be. We are going to have to keep working toward a balance of safety and mental, of what it is that we want to do. But please be assured, we all want to go back to the life that we wanted to go to. Jan and I were talking some about this Monday when we were there, and I'm hoping, Jan, that once some of these decisions have been made, that you will once again initiate a Zoom call so that you can tell people verbally what we're looking at in this next time going forward. Again, we have to remember when we get impatient that there are the governor's guidelines, and we really do need to adhere to those. And I make the case, well, yeah, but we're all in a semi-insulated place and we've all had the vaccinations. Why can't we? And I think we all feel that way, but we need to keep on having caution as we go. on a positive note, we met with Herbie, and the chairs and benches that were ordered late in 2020 are here. The staff is assembling them, and soon you will see some chairs, some outdoor seating pods. You will see some benches in convenient locations. I know some are going to go up to the gazebo in the middle of Sunrise Ridge. Some will go on the hillside there where now there's one bench. So where these benches are located now as the first place is not necessarily where they'll live longer. These are chairs that can be lifted up, they can be moved and so on. So help us find what's convenient for people. Some of the benches will be located where people have been dropped off in the past, or if they want to sit as they're walking and looking at a view. Some are convenience benches. So they will be coming out soon. The other topic that we talked about are the heaters that are downstairs. And I think those probably will roll out onto the lower patio area outside the dining room fairly soon, because we're going to start getting some warmer weather. February has been pretty snowy and sleety and cold and so on. But come March, we're going to be able to start seeing a little bit more action. So this is, again, a work in progress, and we all look forward to that. Another part that the resident council talked about is revising the Red Book. Every few years, we need to be doing that. And we had talked about it last year, and then COVID came and we didn't do it. Jim Fulton and Margaret Fletcher are going to be the lead for the resident council, but this involves administration and some of the guidelines for us and so on. Tom Whaley is going to help make this so it's searchable online. And I think that that will help. So this is a work in progress. I don't know when it will be, but we have the team together to begin moving on that. And now we're going to have a committee report. I put out, sometimes I don't remember as fast as I should, to ask the committees if they have any reports that they wish to share with you. And Robin Potter called me up. So Robin, I'm going to turn it to you now to give a report or an update.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. I have exciting news and a volunteer opportunity. Roadside trash pickup is coming back. This past year, we had to suspend it for obvious reasons. But now, with masking and social distancing, and more importantly, vaccines, we are good to go. So I have scheduled the spring cleanup. We do this twice a year. I've scheduled the spring cleanup for April 3rd. That's a Saturday. We'll meet at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it will take probably 2 hours to complete, excuse me. Our rain date is Saturday, the 10th, a week later. For those of you who are new, this program is under the auspices of VDOT, the Virginia Department of Transportation. We are responsible for 2 miles of Enfield roads, starting at the Kendall entrance and heading out towards the country. We divide into teams of 2 or 3 people, each team taking a segment of that 2-mile length. So nobody has more than a half a mile to clean up. We supply ill-fitting, ugly, day-glow orange vests, gloves, what I call pokey sticks. If you'd rather, you can use your own long-handled grabber. We have signage, trash bags, and we're all set to go. We need lots of volunteers. The more the merrier, and the faster we can get the job done. We need are experienced volunteers and new folks, and I've talked to some of you. The job is, some of us jump ditches and go into the woods, and that's great. But we can also use people who just want to walk along the side of the road with a trash bag and pick up trash within a foot or two of the roads. So we can take people with different abilities. And if you are interested, let's see, I think I've gone over most of the facts. I'm trying to hurry because I'd like to take a couple of questions if time permits. If you are interested, both experienced volunteers and new people, please give me a call or shoot me an email. For the new folks, I will set up a meeting to give you the required briefing and guidelines that VDOT requires. We'll do that ahead of time, and then we'll do a real quick briefing, go over some of the main points when we meet at 9 o'clock on the 3rd. Any questions? I urge you to join us. We have fun.
Robin, why don't you post a sign up on the bulletin board?
I can do that. I think a lot of people are not coming into Anderson though, so, but I will do that.
Okay. Are there questions for Robin? It's kind of hard to go scroll through here and see hands, but anyway. Are there any questions that any of you residents have for Jan, for Bob, for me, or Felicia, or anyone else that's talked during this meeting?
I see Elizabeth raising her hand.
My question is, do we have any thoughts on when housekeeping will resume?
Oh yeah, that's on the list too. Jan?
We are going to discuss that in the stepping out. I will tell you, and I am truly not making excuses for Herbie and Lena, but they have 5 people out on FMLA leave. So, and what that means is when we have those people out on FMLA, we need to hold their jobs, which is rightfully so, and then we can't hire other people. So he is in the process. We have been struggling to hire. As you well know, both dining and housekeeping has been a real chore for us. We actually have gone a different route, and Jessica is helping us now do some Facebook recruiting through Facebook, and we are finding that that is definitely helpful to us right now. But we are going to be discussing that and where we are going with that here in the near future, tomorrow at the stepping out.
Let's see, Marjorie Birch, you're up on the screen now. Would you say hi to folks and give us a chance to scroll to see you? I see you. You're Marge with it.
Marge? Are you talking about Christine Birch?
Christine, I'm sorry. Christine, are you up? We can't see you?
Her video wasn't working before, but she said hello to everybody.
All right. Yeah, it's Christine. Any other people want to ask questions or say anything? If not, we are adjourned. And thank you very much. We'll see each other in person more soon.